From the Casey State Bank Digital First Studio at WTWO, this is the Goin to the Endzone Podcast. Sponsored by Terre Haute Chevrolet, Indiana State University, and Kirshner Building Centers.
Semi-state Friday night coming up on our Going to the End Zone podcast show this week. Welcome into the show with Nicole Christine. I am Grant Pugh, our director Luke Knight. It's a big semi-state Friday night, Nicole. We're happy to talk some football this week.
Oh, yeah. It's very exciting to have a team, almost two teams, but have that Linton Minor squad that's still here, and we're still talking football in mid-November. Thanksgiving's a week away. We could still be talking about it next week.
Amen to that. Yeah, you just touched on hats off to Owen Valley, coming up short in the regional championship game to a good Monrovia squad, but for Coach Gibson, they were our next to last team standing here in Indiana for high school football in the Valley.
Yeah, and I think we've touched on this throughout the season that you're going to see Owen Valley continue to succeed under Coach Gibson, and he's just such a strong leader. He's a great Twitter follow as well. He has a lot of good leadership quotes and things that he puts out there, and I can only imagine what he's doing in the locker room and at practices. He definitely, when he came on the show, we were talking about that recipe and what he's put together, and you can see it in the wins and losses category. You know, they are just outstanding. And Monrovia, a good team. I think, it was a little surprising that they went down, but again, just as you said, hats off to them. They did so well this year, nothing to be upset about. And, the next season, another opportunity. So it was a lot of fun to talk and connect with Coach Gibson this season. And I can't wait to see what they're able to do next year.
They got that big win against Gibson Southern, who were the defending state champs. Now this week we turn our attention to Linton, the undefeated Miners, undefeated on the season, of course, ranked number 1. They're looking for a big win, much like Owen Valley got against an Evansville team, this being Evansville Mater Dei.
Yeah, and we're going to talk later in the podcast to Coach Oliver and Hunter Jennings, our first student athlete. Yeah, it's going to be great. And I think that, we talked about Mater Dei, that's that beast that they've went up against a few times, and they're a beast too. It's a battle of two really good programs when they get together in the postseason, and it hasn't gone their way lately, but I think that you're going to see a different minor team. There just seems to be, they've been successful in recent years. They won that state title a few years back. They've done it. They've shown that they can perform, but there's so many pieces, and how do you stop Hunter Jennings? How do you stop on both sides of the ball? How do you really stop this team that's able to put so many different elements together and just find success on both sides of the ball? And Coach Oliver mentioning, there's always somebody who steps up that maybe you don't even think about when it gets this deep into the season and there's so much at play. So I'm really excited to see this matchup, and I think you're going to see a different Linton squad than you've seen against Mater Dei in the past.
Yeah, Mater Dei nipped them last year by 1 point in the playoffs in the sectional. They've lost to Mater Dei. Linton has 4 years in a row in the postseason, so they're dying for another chance at Mater Dei coming on Friday. Coach Oliver and Hunter Jennings are going to talk about that later in the show, and it's going to be cold, so you're going to bundle up Friday night. The Miners fans going to head down to the Wrights Bowl in Evansville, but should be a good battle between two powers, as you said.
Yeah, and I think this is the kind of thing that when you get to middle of November, you're hoping for matchups like this. You're hoping that it's two teams that are really deserving, didn't get lucky at all, like they earned their spot here, and it's going to be quite the battle. And, Linton travels really well, so I think it's going to be loud down there on both sides, and I think that they're gonna have that bull rocking with some blue and red, and I think Coach said some Carhartt too. You're going to see quite a bit of that, so I think it's going to be a really good matchup, and I would really, really hope that Linton can give us another week of football to talk about next week.
That would be great. John Harrell, as he always does, has good predictions. Record he has this as a 3-point game, I think, so we expect a close battle. We'll see what happens with Linton Mater Dei. Can't wait to see Coach Oliver and Jennings join us later in the show. We'll transition now to college football. Nicole, I know it's been a long time coming, not just for you and the family, but for everyone. This ISU football program finally getting that first Valley win, but doing so by kind of just bulldozing over Western Illinois, controlling time of possession. You have an offensive lineman of the week and just kind of imposing your will against the Leathernecks. I know the coaches were happy to come back from Western Illinois with a big win.
Oh, yeah, and I think in the Missouri Valley Conference, you can never assume that just because a team is winless, as they were, Western was, that you're going to be able to pull something off, and we've struggled and throughout the season, obviously, when you look at ISU's record, but I think that this was a way of showing that oh my goodness, there is no giving up for this team. There is no stopping the fight, and both sides of the ball. I mean, defensive domination is what they kind of said afterward, and that is true with the 2 interceptions and just a lot of, ability to stop them. Their first shutout win since 2018. But I think you saw some things offensively. You saw Evan Elias really step up. You saw, you had guys in there that really hadn't been making too many plays this season, stepping up, catching passes, and you had that O-line that really stepped up. Keegan Trost getting that well-deserved honor from the Missouri Valley with Offensive Lineman of the Week. And I mean, you're just seeing that from guys that you might not hear about week to week, and then all of a sudden they pop up, similar to what we said about Linton. You have a team that has a lot of playmakers on it, and they just pop up randomly, sometimes. And for a team that may seem on the surface to not have a ton of depth, they really do. And I think that it was a great win. It was awesome. There was a group of us that were waiting and honking our horns at the stadium when they got back to Memorial Stadium that night. Just a great feeling to get that second win of the season, and Missouri State to finish out at home. So
yeah, you're going to look at some of these seniors that have been here, a trio of them for 6 years almost. Now they would love to go out and get a big win against Missouri State on Senior Day, not just for them being seniors, but to leave a good foundation for the program next year and beyond. A tough task against Missouri State and the Bears, but I know the Sycamore team, as Coach Mal and the other coaches have said, they love coaching these guys. They're not going to back down from a challenge this weekend.
Yeah, and you have some seniors on this team. Every year you have seniors that the team wants to rally around, right? But you've got Dante Hendricks out there. You've got Chris Reed out there, those 2 captains. You've got Jackson Byrne, as you said, another person who's been here through 6 years, been through, a lot of ups and downs with this team on and off the field. And the rest of the team is really going to want to win for these guys. Dante's going to want to go out on a win. I know that, but the rest of the team is going to want to give Chris, give Jackson, give all these guys this, this victory as they head out and finish up their career. And I think it's going to be a little bit of an emotional day at Memorial Stadium, saying goodbye to some big names. And I think that there's going to be just a lot of that fight that we've seen throughout the season show up again, just to wrap it up with a little bow. Not a perfect season, far from it, but a season that this team has been able to show that you don't give up when things get rough. And that says a lot about the coaching staff, but it says a lot about these guys too, that have been through a lot and really performed up to task a lot of times, just not coming away with some of those wins, but really pushing through.
They haven't stopped fighting, and we'd be remiss if we didn't bring up college football and talk about the awful thing that's happened in Virginia this week. Coach Mal said today he's reached out to Virginia. They've reached back out to him. I mean, certainly different circumstances, but 2 awful circumstances. And you got this week with the shooting that happened at Virginia.
Yeah, like hauntingly familiar, even though, like you said, the circumstances were really different. Just the idea, just your heartbreak when you think about these other players and the player that was injured. Again, you have this kind of a little bit of a parallel there where there's players that were involved and that, will have those memories. And then the rest of the team just left with the memories of the 3 guys too. I mean, it's really heartbreaking. As I said, kind of draws back. I'm sure that there are guys on that Sycamore squad that were thinking about what happened and what they went through. And I think that, throughout the season, they've shown that strength to move through not just losses, but losses in the terms of their brothers and their fellow teammates before the season even started. So I know that they've decided to cancel that game in Virginia, such a tough decision. And it goes back to that decision that Kurt Mallory and the Sycamores made to, 2 days after this awful thing happened, pull together, get out on the practice field. No right or wrong answer, of course, when something like this happens, but they started off so strong when they could have been just in this prolonged mourning period and let that affect them. They started off strong and have stayed strong despite what the record says.
That's right. They haven't stopped fighting. We'll see how they fight against Missouri State on Saturday. Finally, speaking of Saturday, we touched on the Colts last week, and Coach Saturday got a win. Saturday is the new Sunday. Tough task for the Colts this week, but they have the win. They have the momentum as they welcome the Eagles to town. Eagles, of course, coming off their first loss. Monday Night Football. Should be a lot of fun Sunday, as Saturday is the new Sunday.
It really is, isn't it? And I think it's funny that we sat and talked about, what's this really going to look like? I think it's extremely ironic that Josh McDaniels, his job probably was on the line to begin with, but really now being scrutinized against the Colts after what happened in 2018 with him. So I think I think it's just I was happy for the team. I was happy for Saturday. You got to like the guy. You want to support him. Really happy for Parks Frazier in his first play calling game. Really impressive play calling. But I do think you have to look at the fact that it was against the Raiders. They aren't a really solid team. I am interested to see what they do against the Eagles. My Steelers coming into town for Monday Night Football coming up in a couple weeks. Also not looking great right now, rebuilding. So, I mean, a good win for the Colts. I don't really know what direction they're heading in. I don't think that necessarily this is the answer, but I've certainly been wrong before, so we'll have to see.
Amazing what happens when a coach has the power to plug in his own quarterback as they went back to Matt Ryan. It's amazing what happened.
It is crazy. It was fun to watch, though.
Fun to watch for sure. You know what's going to be fun to watch? Linton Mater Day Friday night. We are all Miners Mater Day for the rest of the show. Coming up next, Linton head football coach Brian Oliver is going to join us. After that, stick with us for Linton quarterback Hunter Jennings. We are just getting rolling our Going to the Endzone podcast. Welcome back to our Going to the Endzone podcast. It is a special semi-state championship night coming up on Friday night. We are happy to be joined by the head coach of the #1 undefeated team in Class 2A in high school football in Indiana. That would be head coach Brian Oliver, the Linton Miners. Coach Oliver, you're our first ever second-time guest on the podcast. Welcome back.
Well, glad to have me. It's exciting to be here, especially this late in November, so it's always a good time to come visit.
Yeah, snow outside. We had a little cold weather and snow last week, but I mean, this is what you practice all summer for, all offseason for, a chance to go to the state finals. Your team has that big opportunity coming up Friday night.
Well, you look, I mean, we start the season where it's 90-some degrees, and now we're down to the teens in different times and snow, but that's the exciting part of it. We get to see all the different seasons, and when you're doing that, you know you're doing something well, and we're just fortunate to still be playing this late in the year.
And I know that the message before any game is going to be, you have your typical message, but when you get this deep into the season and you're playing for, all the chips, that chance to head to state, how has the message been so far this week, and, how has it maybe changed in tone?
Well, I don't think our tone's really changed a whole lot, but our message has always been the same. It's like we approach the game the way we want to. I mean, we've got to minimize our mistakes, got to take care of the ball. Got to win the battle up front, and got to have some luck, and plays have got to go our way at different times. And we know there's a lot on the line. I mean, we got one team in our way right now. It's preventing us possibly from going where we want to go, to Lucas Oil. And so it's all business right now, and we're staying focused on what we need to get done for Friday.
How much does your schedule before this help you? I mean, I go back to you guys coming back, getting that big win at Boonville. Certainly, Mater Day is a little different than Boonville.
Yeah.
But games like that, you guys have been in some tough games on the road. Going to be a big one Friday, certainly for sure. How does your schedule kind of help prepare you guys? Because you'll play anyone at any given time, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. Our schedule has really been beefed up over the years, just for the fact that knowing years ago where we were going with our enrollment and different things like that, that was like for us to compete in the 2A, we have to make some adjustments, and getting out of the Southwest 7 Conference was started before that. It just wasn't beneficial for us at that time. So being independent helps us pick who we want to play, but also it kind of hurts us a little bit because it's a scheduling nightmare. I mean, because going into next year, as of right now, we have 2 openings, and so it's trying to find those teams. And the only one I see right now is Center Grove. And you say we were not afraid to play anybody. Sure. I'll be hesitant, but if that's the only team we'll play, we'll play. But it's not ideal. But games like that, I mean, we had a lot of road trips this year, and so we're used to being on a bus an hour and a half, 2 hours for a road trip, and so it's kind of gets you used to that setting, knowing that when you get late in a tournament, you're going to have road trips. So you have to get used to be able to get off the bus and get ready to play.
Yeah, and we've seen you guys ready week after week, and being undefeated, you've got quite a few players on there that are making that happen. One of them in the room right now. Yeah. So don't let that, sway your answer. But who are you looking to this week to really step up, be those leaders, and what kind of message are they sending maybe to the team as those team leaders?
Well, really, this late in the year, you really rely on your seniors. We have 9 on our team, and you really focus on those guys. I mean, they've been with us, just about all of them, since they were in 2nd grade. And so you really rely on them and their leadership and their experience and going through. I mean, none of them has been this far in a tournament, but a lot of those have been around those games. I mean, you see pictures all week within our team in 2015 when these guys were in 5th grade. They were all out there, so they seen all that. So they know, and so you rely on them. And then you get in a game like this. I mean, you expect your senior to step up, but usually it's a guy that you don't expect to step up and play. I mean, these last week we had Brady Cox who stepped in at fullbacks for Hunter Johns, and he had an exceptional game. So it's always someone, and that's the exciting part. We preach who's it going to be tonight? Who's going to be the guy to make the plays? And you rely on your seniors, but someone else will probably eventually step up, make plays.
Are you mostly healthy? I mean, this time of the year, I feel like all of these guys have been playing. You know, everyone's going to have a ding or two. Are you mostly healthy heading into Friday's game? Healthy as you want to be, at least, Coach?
Healthy as we want to be. I don't think we'll have anybody out that is out with an injury. We've been pretty fortunate. We've had bumps and bruises, but that's typical. We rested a kid a little bit, Hunter Johns, a little bit more last week. But other than that, I think we'll be pretty much full strength come Friday.
And I know that you guys, from covering basketball, going deep into the postseason in the past, and you guys going deep in the postseason, that community is unlike a lot of other communities when it comes to rallying around their teams. I'm sure there's going to be a huge crowd down in Evansville wearing the Miner colors on Friday. What has it been like to be around Linton in the past? I mean, the whole season's been a success, of course, but in the past couple of weeks, you know, beating rival like Sullivan and now heading to semi-state, what's the atmosphere down in Linton?
Well, it's always an exciting time. You look a lot of our teams. I mean, for years everybody said football is the team at Linton, and it's not. I mean, we're one of the great teams. I mean, all of our athletic programs are exceptionally well. I mean, we've had a team or individuals represent the school in a state competition in just about every sport, just about. And so you don't see that very often in a small school like us. But we have some great kids. We have some great coaches, but our community is huge. I mean, you'll go through town, you'll walk the street, we'll go to eat breakfast on Fridays, and people are chanting to go beat Sullivan and just stuff like that. Decorations all over town, people wanting to feed us and just reaching out to us and congratulating us. I mean, you can't go through Walmart without talking to someone numerous times. So, but it's an exciting time, and it's so great to be part of that community because everybody just – surrounds those teams and fully supports them. I mean, when our girls volleyball, there was a lot of red and blue up there by Muncie, and we travel really well. And I know it's going to be cold a little on Friday, but you'll see a lot of the Carhartts out and the hunting clothes, and people are going to be standing there. You won't see much red and blue. You might see more camouflage and Carhartt, but they'll be there.
Might hear some noisemakers as well. I feel like I heard someone at Sullivan a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
That's okay. You know, you got to have those road fans to travel.
Absolutely. They'll make those bells and have the milk jugs and all that stuff. They'll be ready to go.
I was also going to say, I don't think Coach Hart would mind your basketball guys staying with football another week next week either, too, Coach.
No, actually, I just talked to him on the way up here. We're having conversations because they have a scrimmage on Saturday, and knowing that those guys probably won't be playing on Saturday. But, yeah, he's okay with it, and we're having a good time with it all, and we're sharing our athletes right now. Our guys will still go get their practices in. They do the shooting, go through the plays that they need to know, and then he releases them early, and they don't do any live action, so they're getting their practices in so they can be ready to go next Saturday, the following Saturday when they play in the was it the Gobbler Shootout? Is that right?
That's
so
right.
They can be ready to go in that one there. So
we know it means more because it's semi-state. It also has to mean more because does it feel like it's a monkey at this point with Mater Dei, or they're just a good team you guys happen to see every year? But I know you guys are so hungry for another crack at a very good Mater Dei program. Yeah,
we're always usually whenever we play Mater Dei, it's going to be in the playoffs, obviously, but it's there's a lot at stake with that. And just like last year, there was a lot at stake. We know who was going to win that, was going to have a deep run in the tournament. And we're happy to play them in the semi-state. And there's a little bit more at stake. I wouldn't say a monkey on our back. I mean, it's two great programs, and they've got us the last several years. And so we're really striving hard to get ourselves where we can finally get them. And hopefully this year can be the year. But they got some great players, and we got some great players, and it comes down to it. It's our best 11 against their best 11.
I know he's going to come on the show in just a second, but not to make him blush too hard, but is there anyone playing better quarterback in the state right now than Hunter Jennings?
Well, in my opinion, no. I'm a little biased to that, but you have a guy that's about ready to break 2,000 yards rushing and pass for 1,600 yards, and so you don't see that very often in a QB in this area, and the hard work and dedication he puts into to get himself ready to play. You don't see that very often, and to me, that's what you look for in a QB. We got one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the state of Indiana.
Also, what does he mean to your defense? You see him out there making plays on defense, and other guys too that play both ways. It's just your defense has been stout too, Coach.
Well, we've made a lot of adjustments throughout the year. We've had some weaknesses here and there. We moved personnel around. That's all about the growing pains of the season. And you put Hunter out there at free safety. He's like our center fielder. He controls everybody in the back. He sees everything up front. And we got some smart guys that help each other get in the right position and communicate as much as we can on D to get ourselves to make the plays. And, he can be a free safety, but then again, he can walk up and be in the box and be an inside linebacker if we needed him to in different situations. So you got a guy out there that's a vocal leader that sees everything in front and make sure everybody gets in the right spot.
Hope everyone gets a look at Linton and Mater Day Friday. We can't wait for the game Friday night, Coach. Thanks for taking some time on a busy week to join us on this week's show.
I appreciate you guys having me. Thank you.
Back with Hunter right after this. Welcome back to our Going to the Endzone podcast. We are happy to be joined now by our very first student athlete on this year's Going to the Endzone podcast show. He's the quarterback, free safety of the number 1 team in Class A, the undefeated Linton Miners, Hunter Jennings. Hunter, thanks for taking some time out to join us on this week's show. Welcome to the podcast room.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
What do I need to say? It's semi-state week. You guys have been waiting for another chance to go to the state finals. It certainly doesn't take much to fire you guys up this week. What's the mood of the team as you guys are just a couple of days away from playing for a berth in the state championship?
Yeah, we're ready to go. Really all year and especially all week, we've been really looking forward to this. I've got a lot of my past teammates been texting me and telling me we need to get this for them. There's a lot of vengeance that we're getting back for. We're focused and we're ready. We're dialed in.
Something that was really impressive to hear you talk about after that win against Sullivan was all the credit you were giving to positions like the O-line. How big of a deal is it to have those guys up front, but also when you're on defense, have the defensive line to back you up? And how important is it to have those guys in the trenches when you've got a team like Mater Dei to go up against?
Yeah, our O-line is 5 studs. If you look, we haven't played anybody, and I don't know if there's anybody else that's as big and strong and fast as those guys are. They've put in the work, the dedication. My little brother starts at left tackle, and we spent all winter and all spring lifting together. He's strong as an ox, and then Wrigley Franklin, he's a 3-sport athlete and a stud in all 3. He's great, and then Nathan Watson in the middle. He puts more work in than anybody else. I can remember when me and my dad were talking about this earlier on in the week. If you look who's really stepped up throughout this year and throughout high school, nobody's done it more than Nathan Watson. He's put in the work and he's put in the dedication, and I love him. And he's stepped in as a captain, and he's done a great job. But Big Jake coming in at right tackle, his footwork and really the coaching that he's taken in and practice is incredible. And, Aiden Giles is great too. He's truly, I think he started for 3 years. You can't ask for more better linemen. And then on the D-line, those guys are awesome. Ty Boyd, he's a great D-lineman, playing a nose and playing end. And then a few of those guys I've talked about, they step up every week and make big plays.
Do I need to? Is there extra incentive with Mater Dei this week? There's certainly. Did you think this would? When we saw the schedule, we were thinking, okay, you might get a Linton Sullivan sectional championship, and we did. And then everyone wants to look ahead. Oh, we might see Linton Mater Dei again. Do you guys look ahead to stuff like that, or you just kind of? Certainly, you have to take it one game at a time. But you knew there was a chance you could see this team again, right?
Yeah, we kept it in the back of our minds and talked about it over the summer and throughout the year, but really throughout the playoffs, we knew what was at stake and we knew what could come. We took it one game at a time, but we knew what could be a possibility. And now that it is going to happen, we understand what's at stake and what we need to do. We're really looking forward to it, getting another shot at these guys.
We like to ask the coaches what their game days look like. So I'm really interested to see what your game day looks like. Of course, you got the business side of it, but are there any routines, any superstitions that you have on game day that you like to keep throughout the season?
So every Friday, me, my brother, and my cousin Paul go with Coach Ollie to the grill. I think we've done that since he took head coaching job. It's been awesome. He still cuts up my little brother's pancake every Friday, which is pretty comical to see. But it's something we do. I mean, of course, I haven't changed the outfit all year. Go home. I don't have internship on Friday, so take a nap, eat a good lunch, watch some film, get really dialed in. We got like 15 or 20 guys that go to Subway. I'm sure the Subway workers hate us coming in there, but we go in there and eat every Friday after school and kind of hang out. We spend a lot of time hanging out together before the game. But once we get to the locker room, we get dialed in, get our tape on, get dressed, and we're ready to go.
Extra carbs at Subway here, that's not a bad thing on a Friday, right?
Yeah.
He's sitting in here, so I'm going to put you on the spot. But what's it like to play? Certainly, you play for your dad as well, all these Linton coaches, but including playing for Coach Oliver. I mean, I feel like these coaches have you guys ready every week, but it's got to be fun to go to war for these coaches every single Friday.
Yeah, I couldn't ask for a better coaching staff. I really do believe they're some of the best in the state. Our offensive coordinator is great. I don't know if there's a team that's put up over 35 points a game consistently. I mean, I don't think we've scored under 35 points a game this year, but consistently big numbers each week on the scoreboard. And then our defense coordinator does a great job too. But our O-line coaches are amazing. They study so much film and put so much time and effort into it. I really couldn't ask for a better guys to lead us and lead our team and our community in a deep playoff run.
So obviously, you come from a football family, your dad, your brother, you, everybody, this is top of mind. But we did talk a little bit before we started talking on the podcast about what your future might look like and some of the other interests that you have. In high school, when you're an athlete, you spend a lot of time on that, but you do have other interests. So, when you see yourself in 5 years, 10 years, what do you see yourself doing and where do you see yourself at?
I hope to go to school at the Naval Academy or really any of the academies, military academies. If I don't get an offer to go play football, I'll try to walk on. Everybody who goes there has to play sports, so I'll dedicate my time to that. I'd like to study mechanical engineering and hopefully eventually fly for the Navy. It's really what I'm looking forward to, and hopefully it works out.
Yeah, no big deal. Just flying for the Navy.
No
serious plans.
After you're crushing it and certainly high school football. Well, best of luck, Hunter. And certainly we can't wait for Friday. Finally, a couple of keys, you think, for the Miners. It's got to be fun to go. I mean, the Roy is the Roy, but this is probably extra incentive to go on the road this week playing at one of the cooler stadiums in the state. A couple of keys for the Miners, you think, Friday night?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the cold will help us out a little bit. We played well last week. I think we had one fumble, and that was in the end zone. Brady Cox hopped on that one for a touchdown. Hopefully we can, take care of the ball again, take care of our pass defense. That's been a struggle a little bit throughout the year, but I think we got our coaches really honed us in, and hopefully we'll get that taken care of. Just minimize those big plays, take care of the ball, take care of field position. Some of the things you look forward to week, but something we really got to focus on this week, and hopefully that'll help us out.
Could be a big red and blue parade coming back from Evansville late Friday night. You never know.
Hope so.
Hunter, thanks for taking some time to join us this week. Best of luck Friday. We'll all be watching and can't wait to see what happens. He's the quarterback of the Linton Miners, Hunter Jennings. For Nicole Christine, I'm Grant Pugh. Thanks for watching this week's Going to the End Zone podcast. We'll keep you posted on the Miners this weekend.